Today we're going to be talking about how secured cards work. Today I want to specifically be talking about the Discover It secured card because it's the one that I use, and personally this is my favorite one. If you watched my previous video, I talked about 3 really good beginner cards, and this is actually the one that ended up being my favorite. And so you can go ahead and watch that video if you want. But in this video, I'm going to be talking specifically about this card, and we're going to get into how secured cards work, specifically the Discover It secured card. So how do these cards work? Number 1, it's a real credit card. Now, why do I say that it's a real credit card? Because it helps you build your credit score. Many people like to use those credit cards or those cards from the stores where you just put in money, and I don't know if it's like a credit card or a debit card, but you put in money, you buy the card, you put in money into it, and then you start using it. And some people think that way they can build their credit score, but that's actually not true. And a big myth that people have about these types of cards, secured cards, is that they actually don't help your credit score. But I've personally been using this card for about 8 months now, and you can actually build your credit score. So the reason it's a real credit card is because it helps you build your credit score. And right here I have that step 1, you make a purchase at a store. Step 2, you wait for the transaction to be posted onto your account. Step 3, you pay the amount posted before your official due date. And step 4, you raise your credit. And it's literally that easy. Now the second thing is the Discover It benefits. So what are the Discover It benefits? They are no annual fees, cashback on every purchase, 100% US-based customer support, and FICO credit score for free. So the no annual fees, these are things that I talked about in my last video, but if you haven't watched that, I'm going to go over it really quick again. The no annual fees, the reason this is so important is because the first account that you open, you want it to be one with no annual fees. Because this account, you want to leave it open forever, for as long as you're alive and you have your credit score. Because this account is, the older it gets, the higher it's going to raise your credit score. So it's actually really good for you to have a really old account. And the first account that you open, you want it to be one with no annual fees so you can keep it open the whole time without having to pay anything. Now, cashback on every purchase. This is really good because lots of cards that are secured don't give you any type of reward or bonus at all. And this one gives you cashback on every single purchase. It gives you 2% cashback on gas stations and restaurants, and 1% cashback on everything else. And that's really good for a secured card. Also, one thing that Discover does is that they match your first year, whatever you earned from cashback on your first year, they're going to match that at the end of your year, the time, depending on the time you signed up. And so let's say, for example, I got $100 in cashback, then that means that they will give me an extra $100 on top of that. And who doesn't want free money, right? 100% US-based customer support. What this means is a lot of other companies like to outsource their customer service to people outside of the US because this makes it cheaper, but it's not really that good for us because then sometimes you can't understand the person, or sometimes, English isn't their first language, and so it can be kind of hard or confusing. But with Discover, they're 100% US based. And I've personally talked to some of the customer service people, and it is such a great experience actually, because they are super nice about everything. They're really helpful. And when you have a good credit score, they're like complimenting you and they're just making you feel like the best person ever. So I really think that them being US based is something really good. And lastly, your FICO credit score is free. So FICO credit score is where you can check your credit score. And this platform right here is free on the Discover app. So whenever you want, you can just check your credit score. And this is good because you can see what's damaging your credit score, how you can bring it up, or just how good you're doing with your credit score. Third thing is that you only need $200 or more to apply. So you apply with only $200 or more. And your credit line matches your security deposit. What does that mean? Well, you put $200 down and your credit line is $200. It's literally that simple. And your credit line is just the amount of money that can be charged to an account. So when you put your $200 in, that means you can only spend $200 on your credit card. And you may be asking, well, what happens to my $200 deposit if I still have to pay after every transaction? Like, are they not taking money out of my deposit? Is my deposit just going to be gone? What's going on with this? And so, like I said earlier, step 1, you make a purchase. Step 2, you wait for the transaction to be posted on your account. Step 3, you pay the amount posted before your statement due date. And step 4, you raise your credit. So your $200 deposit is there in case it's a security deposit. And so it's there in case when that statement comes and you don't have the money to pay for that, they're going to take out of that $200 for that purchase to be covered so that it doesn't have to affect you. When you get a secured card, you aren't really trusted yet to these credit card companies because they think you're risky, because you might be new or you filed for bankruptcy or you just have really bad credit. And so they don't really know if they can trust you yet. So you need to deposit to make sure that they're not going to lose money from having you as a client. And the good thing about this $200 deposit is that, once you have your card for a while and they see that you're actually using your card good, they check your account, they check your credit score, they check your transactions and all of these things. And within, I think it's 6 to 8 months, they give you your $200 deposit back and they actually raise your credit limit. So for example, me right now, I've been using it for, I think it's either 8 or 9 months that I've had this card, and I got my $200 deposit back already, and my credit limit was raised to $2,000 because I was using it right, and I was always making my payments on time, and I never went over the $200. And that's one thing that you don't want to do. You don't want to pay interest. You don't want them to be charging you interest because this actually damages your credit score and it doesn't look good because it looks like you can't be trusted with credit. And credit is really important because in the future, you might want to get a student loan, you might want to get a car or a house. And during these times, you're going to need a really good credit and a really good credit score. So finally, just to wrap everything up, the Discover It Secured Card, I personally really recommend the Discover It Secured Card. And these are the 3 reasons right here once again, just because, it's a real credit card, it gives you Discover It benefits, and you only need $200 to apply.